tila hindi na nga nakapagpigil pa ang nakakatandang kapatid ni President Bongbong Marcos na si Amy Marcos. Ito nga ay matapos na makarating dito na patuloy pa rin ang paninira ng mag-ama sa kanyang kapatid. Ayon sa panayam kay Amy, kaya umano nilang ilabas ang mga resibo na magpapatunay na hindi nila pinagnanakawan ang sambayanang Pilipino. Ang alam lang umano ngayon ni Amy ay hindi umano kayang maglabas ng resibo ni Sara Duterte, kaya naman nililihis nito ang isyu patungkol sa ninakaw nito sa confidential funds. Narito panoorin kung paano nabuko ng Quadcom ang mga anolyang ginawa ng mag-amang Sara at Rodrigo Duterte.
Mr. Chair, basing on the methodology of the conduct of the National Household Survey, there is a 95% level of confidence established on the conduct of the household survey. And there is part of the implementation of the household surveys to ensure that there is a coordinated mechanism with the Philippine Statistics Authority for the vetting of the survey methodology as well as the instruments to be used for the before the conduct of the household survey.
That's 95%. So
Yes.
therefore, the fact that during the former president's time, more than 30,000 people were killed, the war on drug was not actually that effective, considering all the killings done. Am I right?
Mr. Chair, on the DDB's standpoint as the policy and strategy formulating body, there was a downward decrease in the current user prevalence rate, and this could be attributed on the demand reduction strategies, which form part of the overall national strategy, which provides a balanced approach on the implementation of the programs and strategies. As for the
You're not actually answering my question. There was a slight downtrend, okay? Therefore, my question is, the war on drugs of the former president, where more than 30,000 were killed, was not that effective. Yes or no? Yun lang ang sagot yan eh.
Mr. Chair, on the
Coming from your statistics,
we clarify, Mr. Chair, that the data presented on the National Household Survey is the current drug user data. But
yes. Still, you're not answering my question. The thing is, according to your data, there was only a slight decrease of the drug users in 2019. All right. Therefore, my question is, despite the killings of more than 30,000 during the time of the former president, the war on drugs was not that effective.
as reflected, Mr. Chair, yes po.
Very good. Very good. So that is what I would like to just tell our people, no? Despite the fact that you killed more than 30,000, yet there was only a slight downtrend in the data that you made. So therefore, let me just tell our people here from the PIDEA, kita mo ha, General Wilkins, look at that. The PIDEA yan. Di ba? Kayo ang pinakaano sa drugs niyan. Oh, sa dami ng mga pinatay nung panahon ni Pangulong Duterte, panahon mo, General Wilkins, panahon ng iba, naging PIDEA Director General, ay hindi masyadong epektibo ang nangyari sa war on drugs. According to that statistics. Tama ba ako, General Wilkins?
Yun yung lumalabas, Mr. Chair.
Yun yung lumalabas. Okay, salamat po. Yun lang po.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chair, may I ask some
konti lang.
Sige po. Congresswoman Castro.
So, ewan ko lang kung ang gets ko 95% no accurate. So, ibig sabihin po yung margin of error. What's the margin of error?
For the 2015 National Household Survey, we have a plus minus negative 1.41% of the margin of error po.
Okay, all throughout the statistical year. Yung
Yes,
sa
for
survey.
2015, Your Honor.
For 2015. Kasi
Yes po.
parang hindi ko lang talaga magets, Mr. Chair, yung biglang baba no, noong 2004. So, sinasabi kasi nung dating Pangulo, si Mr. Duterte, one of the reasons po no, ng drug abuse, drug pushing, economic. So, I will relate that to economic situation that time. So, ano po yung kaibahan nung 2004 up to doon sa kahit na nung period ng 2016 or 2015 to 2019? Mayroon ba
Po ang yung ibig niyong sabihin doon, Your Honor?
the economic situation of our country? Kasi nire-relate lagi na ang dahilan daw ng ng mga drug users, pushers ay yung tungkol dun sa economic problem. Talaga naman problema pa rin yon. So is there a relationship?
Ang kinukuha po ng survey is on the use. Yun lang po ang kinukuha po namin dito sa ating survey. Use
so yung
of
statistics
drugs.
lang ng mga
Yes.
users.
Yes po.
So maganda ring mapag-aralan po no yung mga dahilan. Kasi kung sinasabi niyo po yung mga interventions na ginawa from 2004 to 2008, bakit bumaba radically ng 74%, na kung yun, di po ba kayo nagkaroon halimbawa ng kayo yung 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 policy making ng PDEA. So hindi niyo po ba ito na-suggest halimbawa sa nung dating presidente o administration para gawin yung intervention na sinasabi nyo doon sa 2004 na bumaba siya noong 2008?
Actually po, ano lang po naman din, ang DDB is through approach po ang ginagawa natin. We have the drug demand reduction and the other one is the drug supply reduction, which is a balanced approach po. So as we provide drug prevention programs, ang ating law enforcement naman po is on the drug supply reduction pillar. So yun po yung ginagawa po nating approach.
Okay. So last question na po. Bumaba na ba yung supply at this point po?
I think the most, ang makakapagsagot po niyan is our law enforcement agencies since they are the ones that provide the data on this.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Meron ba ditong law enforcement agency? PNP or
So, thank you.
wala na? Wala na pong PNP dito, Mr. Chair? Wala pa.
Wala nang... sino in particular sa PNP, Congresswoman Castro, that you'd like
Nung
to...
kasi tinatanong ko, Mr. Chair, bumaba na ba yung supply from 2016 to 2023 based dun sa survey? So sabi nila, law enforcement daw yung mga kaalam.
To clarify po, Mr. Chair, hindi po hagip sa household survey po yung enforcement data, which includes po yung seizures. So we best recommend po that this question be coursed through to our law enforcement agencies. Thank you po,
Anyway,
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, wala na yung PNP. Sila na lang tanungin ko later. On the next meeting. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you, Congresswoman Castro. The first to interpolate the presentation of Senator Trillanes is Congressman Rog Gutierrez. But before that, just one clarificatory question sa PSA. Yung survey na ginawa ng DDB, do you confirm that that is an accurate survey result?
Your Honor, good evening. What we can confirm is that it underwent the survey clearance processes. So the survey clearance process is a mechanism for government agencies to secure a clearance on the methodologies. Say, for example, if they have a sampling design, it should be a probability design of sampling. The way to interpret the data, something like that. So all of this, all of these methodologies are included and must be taken into consideration for that government agency to conduct the specific survey that they want to conduct.
Okay, sige, salamat. Pero doon ba sa results ng 1.1 million, does that mean that you have surveyed and asked questions to that number of people?
Yes,
Yung
Your
1
Honor.
million? So yun, ano? Hindi yan kagaya ng normal survey that you only have sample size. So dito, actual number. So when you say 6 million yung na-interview, 6 million yung results, that means you have interviewed 6 million people.
No, sir. What we mean here is an estimate of the population. So, meron po kaming number of respondents that we have that we get, no? Like, for example po, data on 2023, we have 12,495 respondents, which is taken from the general population po of 10 to 69 years old, which is 86,498,895. At doon po namin kinuha yung estimate based on statistics that and science-based data po.
Sige, kasi I'm just wondering, I'm not quite familiar with the science-based approach and methodology nyo ginagawa. No? Kasi like, when you say an ordinary survey, kunyari, tatanong mo yung household, ano yung sabong paborito nila, you only get a sample size. Sa drugs ba, ganyan din, sample size?
Doon din po yung ginawa namin dito, sir. We get a representative sample.
So, ibig
From
sabihin...
the general population at randomly selected po ito.
Sige, okay, sige. Salamat po. Thank you po. So, the first to interpolate is Congressman Rog Gutierrez. You're right. You have 10 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, before I ask the good senator, just on those points earlier with the DDP, I'd like to ask them po, to the Dangerous Drugs Board po, Mr. Chair, if I'd like to ask them.
DDB?
Sorry. Mr. Chair, thank you. To DDB lang po, I hope you understand. We're not here to argue po, no? You're the experts. Kayo po talagang nakakalam sa statistics. Ngunit, I think you'd understand our surprise po, no, with your results. Just to really hammer down, sabi po niyo 95% sure. You have the statistical background to back it up. However, I think we'd find it hard to believe po, no? Because when we're talking about this, especially on the topic of drug use, there would be a strong response bias to this po, no? Because this is not necessarily a behavior that you would willingly admit to in a survey. And I'm sure you have the science to back it up, that you consider this pa rin, but you still remain positively confident in the numbers, the estimates that you've given. Yes.
Yes, Mr. Chair. The survey instruments and the methodologies were framed in such a way that will still maintain the authenticity of the answers of the respondents as much as possible.
And despite this, there's no observable difference given the drug war. I mean, I think that's where most of the congressmen are expressing their disbelief. Because you have your survey, your data points are 2015 and 2019, tama po ba? Yet, during supposedly the peak of the drug war between 2016 to 2018, it's had only an effect of 4%
Mr.
for
Chair,
drug users.
for the drug users. And based on the data presented from the National Household Survey, yes, but we emphasize that there is a continuous downward trend, which could be attributed on the policies, systems, and mechanisms that has been institutionalized through the National Anti-Drug Strategy Framework, which we are implementing on both drug supply and drug demand reduction, together with all the task agencies. mandated to implement these in their respective programs and priorities.
Thank you. And just to be clear, the DDB, just to distinguish the difference, the DDB is more on the policy consideration side in support of the Office of the President, while the PDEA is the drug enforcement side po, no?
Yes,
Do you-
Mr. Chair.
Do you make use of any other method of coming up with these estimates aside from your survey, or you're really just relying on this every 3-year household survey po?
Specific for the drug user data, Mr. Chair, yes po.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Chair, I'd like to direct my next question to the PIDEA through ASEC Gumban, perhaps. ASEC, good evening. Do you also, as the enforcement agency charged with, drug use, do you concern yourself also with statistics such as that on the drug users, or you're purely on the drug supply side lang po?
We get the data also from Dangerous Drugs Board regarding how many users that we have.
Okay, so when
Yes,
you...
that is the accurate one.
So you make use of the DDB statistics also. So the PIDEA would likewise stand by the statistics that are presented by
Yes,
DDB.
Mr. Chair.
So it's shocking to see po, no? I agree with the finding, the conclusion of Congressman Abante. Nakakagulat po, no? Na despite the drug war from 2016, it would appear there was no tangible acceptable difference po, no reduction in the drug users. So that's something I think that the committee would have to consider in its committee report in relation to the drugs and EJK portion of the Quad. With that, Mr. Chair, I thank you, DDB and PIDEA. I'd like to now ask former Senator Trillanes regarding the presentation earlier. Senator, good evening po.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chair, I'll make this short, just a few slides. I'm sure the other colleagues have some questions. Pero nabanggit po ni... just as a background po, no, former Senator Trillanes, can you give us a background of how you would be the right person to explain po yung Las Cañas affidavit? Because as we understand, of course, unfortunately, as much as we'd want to have Las Cañas present the affidavit himself, he's not around. What is your experience or relation po to Las Cañas that you would be presenting his testimony here tonight?
When he was still in the country, kami po yung nag-provide sa kanya ng security and safe houses, no? Then ang ginawa nila Duterte and ng DOJ, they filed they fabricated cases against him para ma-issuean siya ng warrant at makulong siya, ma-silence siya. So by then he was able to slip out of the country even before the warrant was issued. And we facilitated that, no? Kasi hindi pa naman siya fugitive, so we're still not breaking any laws. So we were able to do that at they made sure na no? They followed through, kinancel po yung kanyang passport at pinasahan siya ng red notice sa Interpol. But by then nakapag-seek siya ng asylum somewhere. So, yan po ang background nun. Then, since kami po yung unang nag-file ng communication at sa ICC, meron po kaming coordination with them. We pass information with them and hindi po yan unpatriotic, no? In fact, on the contrary, that is a patriotic thing to do noong mga panahon na walang masilungan o masakluluhan ang mga kababayan natin. We did the right thing. Member pa tayo ng ICC at that time, no? Hindi po tayo we're not dealing with some shady organization. So, nagkakaroon po ng ugnayan through intermediaries. Tapos eventually nga, we were able to get hold of that 186-page affidavit. Then meron siyang video na patutuo while he's signing, and yung conclusion binasa po niya. So yun po ang naging namin standpoint. Sabi ko nga po, pwede naman pong i-question yung authenticity niyan, pero the ICC, ando doon na po sila sa Witness Protection Program at hindi lang po yan, natapos na po yung kanyang yung testimony niya. So even before the trial began or even before the trial begins, tapos na ho siya because alam nila kung gaano ka-critical yung kanyang testimony. So to rule out any scenario na habulin siya ng mga assassins para ma-preempt yung trial, nakuha na po. So, duly represented yung camp ni Duterte ng isang ICC-appointed defense lawyer. So, the rights of both parties were protected.
Thank you. So, Senator Trillanes, your relation po with Las Cañas is you've helped facilitate the cooperation po with the ICC, tama po. So, although the affidavit might not be, he's not here to testify it on his behalf, you would necessarily have knowledge po of the facts that at least that he relayed to you prior to his having left the country, tama po ba?
Opo, exhaustively, we interviewed him. No, and one particular trait of Mr. Las Cañas, as I mentioned earlier, meron siyang photographic memory. He can rattle off names, places. Talagang at we did a lot of vetting, validation ng mga sinasabi niya at nag-check out. Kaya eventually doon. And he has no reason to lie, no? In the first place, he was being rewarded generously by Duterte kasi second in command yan dun sa buong DDS structure sa Davao. So he was rewarded generously at pati nung nagkaroon siya ng kidney transplant, binigyan siya ng pinacilitate yon. Pero talagang nagkaroon siya ng some form of epiphany. It's so powerful na hindi niya talagang in his words parang he had to turn to the light, no? And kahit na ni-risk niya yung buhay niya, buhay ng pamilya niya, but gusto niya ng some form of redemption. So yun po ang nakuha namin.
So, Senator Trillanes, at the time that Las Cañas had this epiphany of sorts, or when he cooperated with the ICC, would you say that these admissions were adverse to his interest? At that time, was there a falling out already with the former president, or?
Opo. Even before siya lumabas, nagkaroon siya ng yung unang parang conscience attacks, mga 2014, 2015. So, ang initial na sinasabi niya, hindi lang siya tumatanggap na ng mga liquidation missions. Tapos, eventually, nung naging presidente si Duterte, gusto niya na mag-mainstream, no? Kaso, binigyan siya ng mission which was to have me killed, no? Hindi niya na kinaya yon, hindi niya na tinanggap. Pumunta muna siya sa mga religious personalities. Then itong mga religious personalities eventually ang nag-arrange sa amin na ma-interview siya. But he appeared initially sa Senate kasi talagang binantayan siya ng husto. So nagsinungaling siya, the first appearance. Then after the New Year of 2016, na siya. Completely nag-turn na siya. He wanted to tell all. Even dito siya nagsabi sa Pilipinas at the risk of his own life. At kaso nung nakita namin that we cannot protect him anymore, tinulungan namin yung paglabas niya out of the country.
Thank you. Senator, so with that po, as much as we'd like to give credence to the testimony of Mr. Las Cañas, we'd still have to vet and,
Yes.
perhaps we just only prove it through circumstance na lang po, no?
Yes.
He mentioned, and as you presented, a few names that were allegedly yung mga competition daw po ni Mr. Yang, Michael Yang. And I think some of the names mentioned were Alan Yap, Danny Ong, and Philip Lam.
Yes. And Joel Ko.
And Joel Ko. Senator Trillanes, all of these cases of kidnapping po, yung kidnapping incidents, these are all drug-related po ba?
Yes. Ang ginagawa kasi sa kanila, parang yung dito sa yung sa testimony ni Colonel Garma, merong parallel structure. There is the regular police organization, then meron silang special operations group. Yan yon ang ito yung heinous crime investigation unit. So kaya ganon. So when they do the liquidations, wala na mag-iimbestiga kasi sila po 'yon, no? So binibigyan sila ng information, itong tao na ito ay drug pusher or drug dealer. So yun na 'yon. They will execute sila. So yun ang information sa kanya. Pero ang sinabi niya dito sa apat na ito, pinagkakitaan pa nila. Binigyan sila ng authority na kidnapin muna, abduct, tapos kontakin yung pamilya para magkuha ng ransom para doon tumaas yung kanilang operational funds. Yes.
Senator, would you know if these 4 cases were investigated? These were all in one locality po ba sa Davao?
All in Davao City, Mr. Chairman. And sabi nga niya, lahat po ito nasa record. They can check out the Davao City Police Office to record. Tsaka may mga kamag-anak po ito. Sabi niya, nagbigay itong mga ito. Kaya he's very confident about all of these cases that he revealed dun sa kanyang affidavit.
Mr. Chairman, do we have a representative of the PNP? I don't think meron po, no? So, Mr. Chair, may we ask PIDEA po siguro through ASEC Gumban. Mr. Chair, are we familiar with these cases po? Yung kay Alan Yap, Danny Ong, and Philip Lam? And I think Joel Koo?
Joel Ko.
Joel Koo?
Yes.
We'll check with the records, Mr. Chair. We'll check with our records.
We'll just request po siguro from the PDA if they can give submit to the committee po records on this alleged kidnappings, allegedly drug-related kidnappings. Likewise, Mr. Chair, we'd also like to request a report siguro from the PNP. I understand we've had some representatives earlier, pero baka wala na po sila. And probably they would not be the right persons po, no, through the committee secretariat. Or are they present now?
Mr. Chairman, idagdag ko lang, Mr. Chairman, na minention din niya one specific case na inutos ni Duterte, nag-pass through kay Bongo, is itong kay Christopher Yu, who was killed dito daw sa City of Dreams noong 2016, just a few weeks or months into their presidency. So, verifiable siya.
Sigo. Mr. Chair, in that case, through the committee secretariat, may we also request siguro from the PIDEA. So I think list na lang po ito, no, to the PIDEA and the PNP for the reports on Mr. Alan Yap, Danny Ong, Philip Lam, Joel Ko, and Mr. Christopher Yu. Tama po ba? And that reminds me po, Senator Trillanes, si Christopher Yu, this was one of the persons mentioned that allegedly was identified through LTO resources. Tama po ba?
Yes, yes, Mr. Chairman.
Did Mr. Las Cañas give any further explanation po on sino po itong nag-provide ng names and addresses by tapping the LTO? Naging regional director po, I believe, no?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Ang nakuha ko lang yung surname, but the video is with the committee secretary, so pwede po nilang makuha yung exact name. Apo.
Yun yung si Mr. De Guzman po, tama, no?
Mr. De Guzman,
Okay.
who was a parang low-level employee na sa Davao pero nakakuha na nila ng data. Tapos nung presidente na-reward na ginawang ano.
Sige po. In that case, Mr. Chair, may we ask through the committee secretariat siguro confirmation from the LTO for a certain Mr. De Guzman who was in the area of Davao during that time. And perhaps if the committee is so like-minded, we could invite him at another time. Mr. Chair, actually, another interesting thing that we've seen from the presentation of the good senator were the supposed killings and release po sa Dumoy raid. But I think we've had an extensive discussion on this already. I think we'll all be just waiting for the invitation of SPO for SPO4 Carillo po, no?
Yes,
So I
Juan
think
Carillo.
we've already heard earlier na on the side of the PDEA, they've said nag-turn over sa BID. Yung BID naman, they said nag-release or turn over. So I think we'll have to rely on the invitation for SPO Carillo. So I don't think I'll have any further questions on that.
Mr. Chairman, I think very critical din yung sa Bureau of Immigration. If indeed tinurn over nila Director Wilkins Villanueva yung 11 na Chinese. And if so, kung totoong, ito nga, nag-intervene si Duterte, as mentioned dun sa news article, because we maintain na if Las Cañas were to be believed, pinatay niya na nung January 1, early morning, itong 11 na ito. So, fiction na yung story that happened after. So, if may proper turnover ng live bodies ito eh. So, talagang may proper documentation to. And I think the Bureau of Immigration of Region 11 would be hard put in fabricating such documents. Wala akong aamin dyan.
And I would agree po, Mr. Senator. And in fact, I think that's what we've come to the conclusion earlier when we were discussing in Dumoy raid. Aside from the testimony of SPO4 Carillo, we also want to look into the reports of both the BID and the PDEA regarding that incident. And I think with that enough corroborating evidence, the truth will come to light. So we'll just have to wait for the next hearing po na if we're able to locate and hear from Ms. SPO4 Carillo.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
One more interesting killing po that we've heard po from the testimony of Mr. Las Cañas. Maybe ask po siguro yung PDEA also if they could confirm that there was a laboratory, Shabu laboratory in yung Green Heights daw po.
We are looking into our records, Mr. Chair. I just heard that Green Heights. What we know is Duboy.
Well, I think it should be cause for concern po, no? And I think aside from the mention of yung Shabu Drug Labs Green Heights, there was also mention of a killing of a construction worker. So I think this should also have a record with the PNP. So likewise, Mr. Chair, may we ask to the committee secretariat to request from the PDEA and the PNP records in relation to yung Green Heights killing, the drug raid, and yung death ng itong construction workers. Actually, Mr. Chair, for the rest of my questions...
Mr. Chairman, in the affidavit of Mr. Las Cañas, he gave a more detailed narration of that specific event, and he was able to provide a name of I think the foreman, because they were the informants of that supposed raid, but because Mr. Duterte was able to know about the impending raid, he informed them and he then killed the informants. So I don't think it would be in any record of the PNP and PDEA because they swept it under the rug. Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. But thank you, Mr. Senator. But we have to exert those efforts to have a final determination by the PNP and the PDEA. And if indeed there are no records, then we'll have to rely on other sources to confirm po, no? With that, Mr. Chair, I'll yield to other interpellators po. Maraming salamat po, Senator.
Okay,
Salamat
thank
po.
you. Congressman Gutierrez. The next to interpellate is Congressman Paulo Ortega. You have 10
Thank you,
minutes.
Mr. Chair. I have a few questions to the former Senator Trillanes. Former Senator Trillanes, sino po sa pagkakakilala nyo si Charlie Tan? Ano pong personalidad niya?
Based dun sa ano po, no, ang mga sources po namin dito when we profiled him is yung testimony po, yung interview rather ni Mr. Las Cañas, yung kanyang affidavit, then yung yung report ni privilege speech rather ni Senator Ping Lacson. He was identified as one of the big players, and his name was also mentioned in the text messages of Mr. Mark Taguba. Tapos through our other informants, talagang big player siya ng smuggling, at ang dynamic nila as mentioned by Mr. Las Cañas, si Paulo Duterte ang kapartner niya si Charlie Tan. Si Michael Yang naman ang kapartner si Duterte. So, tapos si Charlie Tan ang nagpapacilitate ng entry ng mga substances, yung mga chemicals na gagamitin for shabu manufacturing. Then eventually, nung nag-importation na sila ng whole scale, doon na sila sa customs nag-ooperate, Mr. Chairman.
So, Mr. Chair, former Senator, we can say that Charlie Tan is directly involved. Kumbaga, big fish po siya. Big time player po talaga dito sa, can you say, smuggling and drug trade, Mr. former Senator?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Sinabi nga ni Las Cañas, sila yung triumvirate. Si Charlie Tan, Sammy Uy, and Michael Yang. During those times na hindi pa puputok itong mga pangalan na ito, doon niya nakita ito. 2001 sila nagsimula ng partnership. From what I heard, or what Mr. Las Cañas told us, nagsimula ito nung medyo nanganib yung return ni Duterte nung 2001 elections. So, naganap siya ng pondo, ito yung mga nagpondo sa kanya. And he was well aware that these are drug lords. So, doon siya nagsimula ng partnership nila. So, itong tatlo po na ito, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, former Senator. Mr. Chair, would like to ask sana yung PNP or NBI or PIDEA if is Charlie Tan a familiar name? Is he on the list? Ano pong pagkatao niya o pagkakakilala niyo sa kanya? I guess we can ask PIDEA, Mr. Chair.
We will check on that personality, sir. We will dig in our records.
Do we still have representatives from LRA and AMLAC? Wala na po ba? Wala na.
You're looking for a PNP representative?
LRA or AMLAC,
LRA.
Mr. Chair?
Okay. Ang LRA and AMLAC has already left, Your Honor.
Then I'll just raise the question in the air, Mr. Chair, na siyempre kailangan natin makita kung ano po yung pagkatao nitong si Charlie Tan and with regards to his properties, yung mga negosyo niya, at definitely yung pagkatao niya, Mr. Chair, we have to ask. And I'll take advantage of the presence of Mr. Abellera, Mr. Chair. Sir Abellera po, ano po ang pagkakakilala nyo kay Charlie Tan? Do you know him personally or is he an acquaintance? Ano pong buong pagkatao niya if you know him, sir?
Good evening. Kasama ko siya dati. Kainuman, kabarkada.
Barkada po, sir. So, would you happen to know if this allegations thrown at him, yung mga issues po na nababato sa kanya, are you familiar with this or may pagkakataon na napadaan na sa inyo itong mga ganitong pangyayari, Mr. Abellera?
Matagal ko na ho siyang hindi nakakasama dahil simula 2017 yata. 2017, nung nagkaroon kami ng sa Senate, hindi na ho kami nagasama nila Congressman Paulo Duterte.
Mr. Chair, Ginoong Abellera. So, ngayon po, sa punto na ngayon, wala na po kayong idea kung nasan siya, anong ginagawa niya, or anong balita tungkol sa kanya?
Ang alam ko po nasa Davao, pero hindi ko alam kung, hindi na ho kami nagkakita eh. Bira na ho.
If he's still in Davao, Mr. Chair, nabigyan na po ba tayo ng pagkakataon para imbitahin si Mr. Charlie Tan, Mr. Chair?
Yes, we have already sent invitation to Mr. Charlie Tan twice. Yung last natin was a show cause order. Is that correct, Comsec? Did we issue a show cause order kay Mr. Charlie Tan? If I remember correctly, nung last hearing, we already issued a show cause order for him.
Then if he's in Davao, Mr. Chair, I think we should get help from not only local authorities but as well as our national authorities na, Mr. Chair.
Yes, COMSEC, please coordinate with the Philippine National Police in the area to locate Mr. Charlie Tan.
Because I'm sure he's going to be a vital resource person. Not only a resource person, but a vital actor in our hearings, Mr. Chair. So yun lang po, Mr. Chair. Maraming salamat.
Thank you, Congressman Ortega. Next to interpolate is Congressman Zia Adyong. Since Congressman Adyong is not present, Congressman Flores.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, before I start with the specific questions, I just have a comment with your presentation, Senator Trillanes, no? Because while you were making the presentation, kanina ko pa gusto ma-interrupt sana kasi most of your the information that you gave were actually available already in open sources, no? Like newspaper clippings and the affidavits of persons. And in fact, it appears nga na parang you were just making a summary of everything that you found from newspaper articles to the affidavits of other resource persons. Tama po ba?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
And the difficulty kasi in asking you questions about it is that because your statements are going to be based on either an article or the affidavit of another person. And the rule supposedly is that it's best to ask the person who executed the affidavit or the person who made the news article, di ba? Kasi parang maging double hearsay na tuloy yung sitwasyon ngayon, di ba?
Yes, Mr.
And
Chairman.
I hope you understand why I'm saying this, because in the spirit of fair play din sana, it would give the other persons who have been named in the affidavit and in the news articles also the opportunity to confront the persons who actually made the affidavit.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Sa nakita nyo po, no, since hindi naman po tayo nasa court of law, the way I presented everything, ito yung resulta ng investigation, no? When I was still in the Senate, and nagkalap kami ng intelligence information, yan, open sources, tapos insider information. Then that was very critical. Before namin nakausap si Las Cañas, all of us were susceptible in embracing or swallowing the false narrative of Duterte na talagang galit siya sa droga. And the way he delivers these things, very emphatic na talagang parang kapanipaniwala na galit talaga. But then, here's an insider guy who came up with all of this information. Talagang nag-iba yung paradigm. And ang difficulty namin at that time was how to communicate this new paradigm to the general public, because at that time talagang kontrolado nila yung buong communications apparatus, and yun po ang difficulty.
You're referring to Art Las Cañas.
Yes, opo.
Well, the issue I have with Art Las Cañas din kasi, kasi when he first appeared before the Senate ba yun?
Yes.
He was saying a different thing. In fact, he was defending then President Duterte. It was only a few months after where he recanted and made another statement about the involvement of then President Duterte about drugs.
Opo.
And every time kasi we present a witness na parang says something and then does another thing,
Yeah.
medyo kami din ang natatamaan dyan di ba? Kasi it's parang coming from a tainted source. That's why I hope you understand my sentiments po, because I always want to protect also the integrity of this committee. That's why I'm bringing these issues up, no? Kasi while I was listening to you kanina, it's either Art Las Cañas, Asierto, or the other newspaper articles ang basis ng ano. I was really hoping that you could have given us more concrete siguro evidence po on what actually to support the allegations made by Las Cañas.
Okay, I totally agree, no? Especially coming from lawyers, very strict yung discipline nila about witnesses recanting. But as ano po, no? As a non-lawyer, in my case, when I was still a cadet, I was the chairman of this honor committee. Talagang we do investigative work and we profile the subjects, demeanor. So, na-acquire ito. When I was in the Navy, as an investigation officer, nakikita mo you'll be able to know whether somebody is lying and somebody is telling the truth. No? Pwedeng matest po yan in so many ways, mabibet. Pero po yung paglalay at the first instance, depende po sa circumstances. When they are fearful of their own lives, it is totally understandable. At pero dito po ang nangyari sa kanya, talagang he risked everything eh. Kumbaga hindi ako makapaniwala nung unang sinabing babaliktad si Las Cañas because doon sa first appearance niya sa Senate, talagang matindi talaga, no, hardcore siya. Pero kaya binet muna namin. First few baka mapapatibong kami. Pero yun na talagang parang ayaw niya na. He doesn't want to be burdened by all of these people he killed. So yun na, he was out for redemption.
Thank you, sir. I just made that observation kasi I just want, of course, the Quadcom to be above the suspicion ba na we're just allowing statements like that to be coming out from resource persons. Now, with regards to Michael Yang po, when Acerto was making his allegations about Michael Yang, he said that the very first information he got about Michael Yang was about the Dumoy laboratory. And in that Dumoy laboratory, parang ang role lang ni Michael Yang at that time was supposedly securing the precursors.
Yes.
Pero meaning he's not really involved in the manufacturing of drugs, but securing resources that are needed to manufacture these things. Parang negosyante lang na may pinagkakakitaan. Tama po ba? Was that confirmed by your research po?
If you will only take the information from Colonel Acerto, then that's the conclusion that you'll get. But in our case, nakuha na namin yung initially yung bank documents, Mr. Chairman, nandoon na yung Sami Uy. Nung lumabas yun, hinahanap namin ano kaya itong pumapasok na pera na ito from government coffers or illegal mining activities, kung ano-ano. But eventually, nung si Las Cañas pumasok, and we got him around January of 2017 a few months before the appearance of Colonel Acerto. So by then, nakita na namin from the new paradigm itong mga information na to. Kaya nag-fit ho siya dun sa buong narrative.
So Michael Yang and Alan Lim and sino po yung isa na
Si Charlie Tan, Sami Uy.
Charlie Tan,
Ayun
Sami
po.
Uy. Now, si Alan Lim naman, ang relations niya with Michael Yang, where did it start ba? Saan nagsimula yung connections nila?
Apparently, since hindi alam ni Las Cañas, si Alan Lim vaguely pumupunta lang daw a few times sa Davao. So kumuha kami ng other sources of information from the whether domestic law enforcers or foreign law enforcers. Itong si Alan Lim, apparently, mas senior siya kay Michael Yang at that time. Parang junior itong si Michael Yang. Mas senior pa yung kanyang kapatid na si Tony Yang. May sila meron silang seniority dun sa kanilang triad. So Peter Lim is also a big player. So sa Visayas, itong si Peter Lim, si Si Alan Lim doon naman sa Luzon. That's the picture we got from the people we talked to. Tapos pero si Michael Yang naka-jackpot siya kasi yung connection niya with Duterte nag-pay off when he became president, kaya na-elevate siya, na fast track yung kanyang promotion doon sa kanyang organization. Ganun po 'yun.
Now, if you're saying na Michael Yang was using his siguro closeness with the former president to further his drug interest, why would he be content with just being economic advisor? Why not ask for a different position which would give him siguro more access to whatever he's doing, di ba? But that's a question that most people would say. Di ba kung involved siya sa drugs, bakit economic advisor lang ginawa? Wala naman niyang benefit to his business.
Ito po yung benefit nun. Unang-una, he cannot be given a regular cabinet position because he is a Chinese national. No? So, yan yon. Yung economic advisor is just a title to project to the whole bureaucracy na ano ito, malakas itong tao na ito. That's going to afford him the protection that that he needs, no? Yung connection do sa network kasi binabout siya. And yung pinag-uusapan kung paano nag-pay off yung kanyang closeness, dun sa family issue, yun po, di ba, lumabas. Kahit nasa labas siya, ang dami niya nakuhang kontrata because of that connection. At hindi pa po na may mention dito yung kinita nila dun sa Sinovac, no? Dun sa Sinovac, based dun sa mga nakuha naming dokumento, ay ano po yan, na-overprice niya ng 2,000 pesos per vial at bumili sila ng 50 million vials. So that's 100 billion pesos. No? Yun po ang pinakamalaking racket nila na nakuha because of that connection and protection, Mr. Chairman.
Now, you also testified earlier na Sammy Uy, no, was the one who introduced Michael Yang to the president. Is that correct?
Yes, Mr. President.
Now, Sammy Uy is known to be close to the president even when he was still mayor pa.
Yes.
But for not about I know that it wasn't about drugs na ang association niya with the Dutertes. Paano naging biglang all of a sudden naging drugs to na angle na kung isipin natin it should have started way before kung yun man ang original intention ni Sammy Uy, di ba? Kasi he was already close to the president when the president was still mayor of Davao
Yes, and it did start way before. According dun sa interview ni Las Cañas, nag-start po silang tatlo mag-engage kay Duterte noong 2001. At major campaign contributor sila noong una. Tapos, ito na nga, sabi ko nga, yung pag-profile kasi kay Las Cañas as an insider, as an inside man, it's either you will believe everything or you don't believe anything. Di ba? So, kaya nung una naming binevet ito si Las Cañas, we were validating everything. Kumbaga, ano bang motivation itong mamang ito? At I think if it's one skill set that we have is yun pong pag-vet, pagba-background check. So nakikita po namin yung mga motivations. And sinabi po niya ako ho, without you take out Las Cañas, pag nakita mo yung cover ni Sammy Uy, talagang maganda Maganda ho Kaso sinabi ni Las Cañas, and before that, nakuha po namin, Mr. Chairman, yung bank documents. Ando doon siya Bakit siya nagbibigay ng 40 to 50 million dun sa 5 members of the family every 6 months? Ano yun? Anong kalasing business po yan? Tapos marami pa pong eventually kung in an impeachment court, hypothetically, lalabas po yan. Kung kanino galing pumapasok po yan. At ang blunder po ni Duterte, ginawa ho niyang joint account sila ni Sara So, ano po ito? Lumabas po doon.
Pero you would agree with me, Senator, na there's nothing wrong naman in making political contributions to campaigns, di ba? I mean, a lot of businessmen do that, di ba? For as long as it is properly reported in your statements of contribution expenditures, okay lang yan, di ba?
Okay lang po yan, Mr. Chairman, kung hindi mo alam. Kunyari ngayon, napag-uusapan na si Michael Yang as a drug lord. Would you accept a campaign contribution from Michael Yang? I don't think so. Siguro before, pag hindi mo pakilala, you'd be forgiven for that eh. Alam niyo naman po, tayong mga politiko, pag may lumapit o gusto kong tumulong sa campaign mo, hindi naman tayo magche-check sa narco list o kung ano-ano. Di ba ho? We take these gestures at face value na they just want to help us. So, ganun po yan.
Okay, now, pwede na, kasi ito di ba? Asierto first came out with Michael Yang after 2016 na
Yes.
di ba? When Duterte was already president. Tama po ba?
Yes, Mr.
So,
Chairman.
I mean, if I was the president, I would still have accepted the donations prior to that. Kasi
Yes.
hindi pa lumulutang yung pangalan niya at that time, di ba?
Yes, Mr.
So
Chairman.
there was nothing wrong with it at
There's
that
nothing
time.
wrong. There's
no?
nothing wrong.
So as far as contributions are concerned, then probably there was a valid excuse for the president to accept it because at that time, supposedly, hindi pa lumalabas yung pangalan ni Michael Yang as someone who is linked to the drug trade. Tama po ba?
I totally agree, Mr. Chairman. Kaya ko lang naman nilabas yung SOSE because dito lumabas yung pangalan na talagang close sila. So, at that particular moment, and I agree with you, Mr. Chairman, walang problema pa. But in hindsight, may problema na. Ibig sabihin nun, yung sinasabi nilang narco politician, yun na. Because Duterte knew about Sammy Uy's involvement in illegal drugs and siyang pumopondo. Yon kinorroborate yun ni Mr. Las Cañas noong 2001, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, now, would it also be possible, I'm just playing devil's advocate here, Senator, forgive me.
Yes.
Would it also be possible na, let's say, people close to the president vetted him and said, he's okay? Meaning, the president did not have to go further from what the people surrounding him were saying. Example, like, cleared yan, okay yan, hindi yan associated with drugs. Pwede din po ba na he would rely on the word of those who are closest to him na hindi yan involved in drugs?
Yun na nga po, no? Assuming the best of Duterte, probably that would be the case. Pero we have profiled the guy and in assuming the worst of him, minsan ini-exceed pa niya no? Pero ito po, yung kay sino to? Kay Sammy Uy and kay Michael Yang, in-inform na ni Colonel Asierto. Kumbaga, out of sense of duty, sabihin na nating naive si Colonel Asierto because he believed yung narrative. Namigay talaga siya ng report hoping to precisely yung sinasabi nyo, Mr. Chairman, na ma-clear siya, yung baka hindi alam nung nagki-clear sa kanya na okay yan. Kaso baliktad yung reaction niya eh. Kung totoong he had nothing to do with Mr. Yang, ang gagawin niya nung nakita niya yon, first thing toxic yan, ilayo nyo yan sa akin. Or, kung talagang pinapapatay niya yung mga drug lords, dapat napatay na po yun. Yun po, Mr. Chairman. Kuha namin paano siya magtago at mag-protect dun sa ultimate drug lord dito, which was Michael Yang. I'll proceed. Okay. Next. So, ito. Sige po.
Sir, nabanggit niyo po na may laboratory, Shabu Laboratory ata sabi niyo po itong si dating Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte. Sir, baka pwede niyo pong i-describe kung ano pong laboratorio to, saan po to dating makikita, ano po yung mga operasyon doon, sir, baka pwede niyo pong i-detalye para sa ating mga kasamahan sa media.
Okay. mga year 2021 nung bumalik siya, 2002, inassign niya ako na mag-security sa isang kanyang mga Filipino-Chinese kaibigan, particularly Sammy in Charlie Tan and Michael Yang, na nagtayo daw ng isang canfish factory sa Dumoy Turil, which is naniwala naman ako, kasama ko dito si SPO4 Sanson Binaventura. Kami nag-escort sa mga van na lumalabas sa ninawalaan ko na isang canfish factory sa Dumoy Turil at the time na binamanage po ito ni Michael Yang at ni Sammy Oy at ni Charlie Tan. Nagde-deliver po sila ng mga allegedly sardines, finished product ng mga sardines for export to Malaysia. Gamit po nila yung Toril Fish Port na malapit lang po sa Cebu Laboratory na ito. 3 kilometers lang. Kami nag-escort ni Sunny. And then ang nirintahan ni Charlie Tan na mga fishing boat going to Malaysia at the time ay yung kay Mr. Kaskabil ng Toril Fish Port. Then nadiskubrihan ko na lang po na Cebu Laboratory pala ito lahat nung na-raid na po ito ni Police Captain Asierto. Wala kaming nakita ni isang tinapa.
So, ito po, no, nakita nyo how graphic or how detailed yung kanyang mga descriptions kasi insider siya. And dito natin makakita ang PIDEA Chief, Regional Director ng Region 11, no? Itong si Director Wilkins Villanueva. These Cebu laboratories were operating under his nose precisely because, as mentioned by Mr. Las Cañas, ay kasabwat itong si Wilkins Villanueva, and just like yung paano ginawa kay Garma, prinomote, paano ginawa dun sa taga-LTO, prinomote, ito pong si Wilkins Villanueva, ginawang PIDEA Chief to make sure na protektado yung kanyang kartel. Kaya nga hanggang ngayon, hindi niya masabi na si Michael Yang ay nasa PIDEA narcolist kahit na itong kanyang mista na si Colonel Asierto ay nag-submit na ng report as early as 2016, 2017 sa iba't ibang ahensya. At nabalita na yon, yung Michael Yang na yan, ilang forum na lumabas pangalan. Pero dahil itong protector na si Wilkins Villanueva, yun yung kanyang role dito sa Duterte Drug Syndicate. Next.
Sir, nabanggit niyo po na may...
At isa pa, nakadiscovery ako sa Green Heights Subdivision ng another Cebu Laboratory na papabayari ni Sammy Oy at ni Michael Yang. Anong ginawa ni Mayor Rodrigo Roa Duterte? Pinagpapatay ang mga construction worker sa grupo ni SPO4 Bienvenido Laud in the presence of Sammy Oy and a Filipino-Chinese woman. I only name her as Miss X. Si Duterte walang ginawa. Mag-apply ako ng search warrant doon, kay huhulihin ko na sana ito. Pero anong ginawa ni Duterte? Gimisread kami. 3 Cebu Laboratory ang nadiskubrihan sa Davao City during his mayorship.
So, ito ho, no? Pagka meron silang natutumbok na Cebu Laboratory, according to Mr. Las Cañas, mag-a-apply sila ng search warrant at ire-report nila kay Mr. Duterte. And ang ginagawa ni Duterte, tinitimbrihan niya yung mga drug lords, sila Michael Yang, sila Sammy Oy, para walang maaabutan doon itong sina Las Cañas. Tapos yung mga informant niya na yung 11 construction workers, yun ang pinapatay. Tapos diyan sa affidavit na yan ni Mr. Las Cañas, sinabi niya na binilin sa kanya ni Duterte na makikinig kayo sa instructions ni Sammy Oy. So parang that is his way na to declare to everyone na tao ko to, wag niyong gagalawin ito. Ginawa na rin yan eventually, mamaya papakita natin, dun sa case ni Michael Yang. Next.
Ano daw pong kaugnayan itong si Mayor Paruhino sa mga Duterte sa kanilang mga illegal na gawain?
Yes. Si Mayor Altong Paruhino ang in-charge sa Northern Manila na operasyon ng kapatid ni Michael Yang na mayroong Cebu Laboratory ito sa Osamis. Si Mayor Duterte naman ang in-charge dito sa Southern Mindanao, dito sa mga Cebu Laboratory ni Michael Yang, Sami-Oy at Cholitan.
Pwede pa ulit po yung garang
Ano
na
daw
mission.
pong kaugnayan itong si Mayor Paruhino sa mga Duterte sa kanilang mga illegal na gawain?
Yes. Si Mayor Altong Paruhino ang in-charge sa Northern Manila na operasyon ng kapatid ni Michael Yang na mayroong Cebu Laboratory ito sa Osamis. Si Mayor Duterte naman ang in-charge dito sa Southern Mindanao, dito sa mga Cebu Laboratory ni Michael Yang, Sami-Oy at Cholitan.
Okay, dito po sa video na ito, dito sa tanong na yon, sinabi niya ang relationship ni Paruhinog at ni Duterte at the time, nung mayor pa lang si Duterte, ay yung Northern Mindanao ang in charge ay sa distribution ay si Paruhinog, na ang drug lord partner ay yun si Tony Yang, yung kapatid ni Michael Yang. Tapos sa Southern Mindanao, si Michael Yang, Sami-Oy at Charlie Tan, yun naman ang kanilang mga kapartner dito sa Southern Mindanao. Para yung distribution ay hindi sila nag-overlap. Next. Ando doon po yan, doon sa 186 pages na affidavit ni Mr. Las Cañas. So ando doon lahat yan. So, isa-isahin po natin yung mga personalities na minention ni Mr. Las Cañas. While sa kanya yung insider information, titignan natin from other sources para ma-validate o ma-corroborate yung kanyang mga statements. So unahin po natin si Charlie Tan. Next. Dun sa privilege speech po ni Senator Ping Lacson, ito daw yung mga big players ng customs at the time. Ito pong si David Tan, ito po yung tinatawag din nilang Davidson Bangayan. Andiyan siya. Ito yung sinabi ni Duterte na pupugutan niya ng ulo back in 2012, I think, pagka daw nag-operate ito sa Davao. Pero to this day, this guy is operating sa Davao and has been one of the major campaign donors of Duterte. Ito naman si Teves Group. Ito rin po, itong si Arnie Teves, na former congressman. Ito po ay siya ang distributor ng droga sa Western Mindanao, Western Visayas rather. Kaya ano ito, he was one of the untouchables nung panahon ni Duterte. Then dito, yung Davao Group. Itong Davao Group, hinimay ito. Next slide, please. Yan, sige. So, dito, ito yung mga players ng Davao Group. Kasama na rito itong si Charlie Tan. So, si Charlie Tan of Davao Group. Ngayon yan sila, meron yan, ang kapartner niya dito sa Bureau of Customs ay si Man Scarpio at si Pulong. No, mamaya, papakita natin yung kanilang partnership. At under sa kanila, yung mga accredited na brokers like Mr. Mark Taguba. Sige, next. So, in-extract lang namin from one of the statements ni Las Cañas na itong si Charlie Tan, next, naka-underline yan. So, si Charlie Tan daw, according kay Pulong, ay kinargahan yung kanyang container van ng illegal drugs. So next slide, please. Okay. punta po tayo dito sa 6.4 billion worth of shabu at kung saan ang nasangkot ay itong si Mr. Mark Taguba at ilang mga mid-level players, no? Next. Pero base dun sa mga ebidensya nakalap namin dun sa mga Viber messages ni Mr. Mark Taguba, nakita namin yung mga involvement ni Mans Carpio, Pulong Duterte at ni Charlie Tan, no, at different levels. Next. So ito yung mga grupo na ito. Itong si Pulong Duterte at itong si Small Abellera, ito yung kanyang bagman, no? I think andito siya. Siya yung councilor ng Davao. Tapos, next, ando doon si Charlie Tan. So sila yung magkakagrupo. Yan, Mans Carpio. Next. So ito, dito nyo makikita kung gaano ano sila, ka-privileged nung panahon na yun. You don't just do that, or you cannot just do that kung ordinaryo ka. So next. So itong si Kenneth Dong, ito yung facilitator ng 6.4 billion peso shabu shipment na na-convict, ano? Tapos itong si Paulo Duterte, tapos yung isa doon sa taas, yan si Charlie Tan. So magbabarkada itong mga ito. Next. Ayan, Charlie Tan and Pulong, Duterte, ayan. Okay? So, travel buddies talaga sila. Next. Yun. Sige, next. Ito naman, talagang, bagman ito ni Pulong Duterte, itong si Small Abellera. No? Next. So, sinama ko sila dun sa 6.4 billion peso shabu smuggling kasi ang ginawa ni Duterte at ng kanyang DOJ ay tinanggal yung mga big players ng kanilang sindikato para hindi sila makasuhan. Next. So yan yon. Next. Okay. Next. So ito yung nakaupo niyan, yung Richard Tan. Yan po yung may-ari siya yung shipper. So ando dyan sa Office of the President nung 6.4 billion peso shabu. Next. Ito na ngayon. Initially nakasuhan itong si Mr. Paildon, pero cleaner siya, no? Kasi supposed to be dapat mortal sin yung ginawa niya kasi lumusot sa kanyang watch yung 6.4 billion peso shabu. Ngayon, kung totoong galit na galit yung presidente sa illegal na drugs, dapat unang-unang binitay ito, no? Pero, nakita nyo, when initially, nung mainit, kinasuhan, pero when the smoke cleared, cleaner siya. Okay, next. Tapos, yung DOJ prosecutor na nag-clear sa kanya, pre-nomote ni Mr. Duterte. Ito, under the executive branch ito. Di ba? Kailangan unforgivable yon na paano mo napalusot yung 6.4 billion peso shabu shipment. At pero clear, pre-nomote pa. Binigyan ng gantimpala yung ano. So nakikita niyo yung pattern. Pagka gumagawa ka ng mga trabaho sa kanya, gagantimpalaan ka. No? Kagaya ng ginawa dito kay Wilkins Villanueva, kay Garma, at ito dito sa prosecutor na to. Next. Pulong Duterte. Sige, please. Please.
Nasabi ko rin po sa Vera Files interview na involved din sa smuggling. Itong si Congressman Pulong Duterte. Pakidetali nga po ito.
Ginawa po niya akong frontman sa smuggling activity sa Port of Davao nung siya ang vice mayor. So pumayag ako and then kinausap ko si Customs Collector Attorney Bangkoy Attorney Edward Iboco, ang assistant, and then yung chief ng assessment na si Attorney Valdez. In fact, every week nag-deliver ako ng pira sa kanila. To si Attorney Bangkoy as collector, 2 to 3 million per week yan. And then yung si Edward Iboco, 1 to 2 million per week, depende yan sa arrival ng mga container van ni Paulo Duterte. Nagwe-withdraw po kami ni Mark Suico ng pera every Friday po ito sa 3 bangko. Number 1, BDO. Number 2 is Swiss Bank. And number 3, Mindanao Network Bank. Ito po ang role ko. Nag-export ako ng bribe money per instruction po ni Vice Mayor Paulo Duterte.
Sa tingin niyo po ba, tuloy pa rin din ang smuggling operations nila?
Sa tingin ko po, hindi lang po Port of Davao. Nationwide na po ito na activities kasi si Pulong is very powerful na ngayon. Kung maririnig natin sa mga balita sa national dito sa Port of Manila. Pero sa tingin ko, pinakamalakas talaga, hindi lang Port of Davao, yung iba-ibang port ng Mindanao. Tuloy-tuloy po ito kung hindi ito maimbestigahan.
Nung kainitan ng pagkakasangkot mo dyan sa smuggling operations nitong mga Duterte, magkano inaabot nila sa iyo, Ginoong Lascana?
Actually, inaalaw ni Pulong na mabigyan ako ng 50 to 75,000 pesos per week. Kasi ang trabaho ko is mag-export lang. Si Collector Bangkoy is 2 to 3, more or less, million peso. And then yung assistant niya. And then yung si Attorney Valdez ng assessment. Si Colonel Albano ng Customs Intelligence ng Davao. Nag-deliver kami ni Mark Suico, more or less, mga 1 million peso per week. Ito every Friday. Kasama yung kanyang secretary na si Ma'am Eunice. At hindi lang yan. Binibigyan ko rin si Colonel Kapuyan ng ISAP. Nakasama ko ako nag-escort ng Mark na 500,000 pesos more or less per week. And then tumatog de la Rusa na ako mismo nagbibigay ng 50,000 peso per week. Depende sa arrival ng mga containers. Pati si Royina Galma na si Mark Suico ang nagbibigay dito. Kay Pulong Duterte is pinadeliver sa akin ni Mike. Sometimes during Saturday morning na meron siyang share na I think kung hindi ko nagkamali mga 150,000 or more. So 350,000 per week lang ang kang Pulong. Pero I doubt it that it is true. But ako nag-deliver sa kanya per week.
Mr. Lascana, meron po kayong mga binanggit na pangalan na mukhang hindi po familiar sa amin. Ano po ba sila? Mga pulis, militar, negosyante, or mga criminal syndicates po?
Yeah. Military. Si Colonel Kapuyan ay isang colonel ng Intelligence Service ng Armed Forces of the Philippines. Si Bato de la Rosa naman na siyang Chief of Police ng Davao City at the time. At si Royena Garman naman ay siyang Chief of Police ng Santa Ana Police Station and Saksa Police Station kung saan na meron siyang jurisdictional operation sa Port of Davao. Yan po pagka-recall ko.
So dito po, dinitalye ni Mr. Las Cañas yung role niya as the insider dun sa smuggling operations ni Pulong. Siya yung naghahatid ng mga mga payola nila dun sa iba't ibang officials ng customs ng Port of Davao at pinangalanan niya, no? These are verifiable information. Makikita nyo yung spontaneity niya at yung knowledge niya dun sa operations talaga. So, makikita mo na talagang siya yung gumagawa. Tapos, lumalabas dito, si Pulong, nagbibigay siya ng payola dun sa mga critical officials ng Port of Davao. Pero at the same time, since siya yung smuggling king dun sa Port of Davao, meron din siyang tarang nakukuha from the other players. So dalawang ways yung pagkita niya dun sa mga kontrabandong pinapasok niya plus yung tara na binibigay sa kanya from the other smugglers. So yun, Mr. Chairman, yung mga pangalan doon that can easily be verified. At itong na-mention niya na si Colonel Kapuyan na binibigyan niya na taga-ISAP din, eventually lumabas ito dito sa 6.4 billion pesos shabu shipment na ang code name niya ay Big Brother, no? So naka-engage siya nito ni Mr. Mark Taguba. So ito na, may pinanggagalingan sila. Nagsimula sila sa Davao and no naging presidente si Duterte, dito na sa buong Pilipinas. Next.
Nasabi mo rin po sa
So ito, ilang mga headlines kung saan talagang alam na, no? As early as I think this is 2016, yan. Ayan. Tapos ito, the Sir Davos of Davao. Sir Davos, ito yung sa Game of Thrones na smuggler, no? Na karakter. So siya yon. Next. Ayan, involvement in smuggling operations in Davao. So ito naman, from the, Philippine Anti-Smuggling Group. Ayan, Presidential Anti-Smuggling Group. So smuggling activities in Davao City, ni Paulo Duterte. So meron siyang kapartner, itong Glenn Escandor. So meron siyang report, may mga dero siya na ganito. So next. Ito may NBI report din siya. Subject alleged smuggling activities intelligence report. So ayan, sila pa rin, Glenn Escandor and Paulo Duterte, a big-time syndicate that is engaged in smuggling activities. So, this, nung pa lang, hindi pa presidente si Duterte. Incidentally, itong mga dossier na ito, ang nagbigay sa akin ito ay si late Speaker Prospero Nograles, no? So yan, apparently, and binalidate namin ito, talagang meron siyang ganyan report. Next. Okay. Sige, please.
Totoo rin po ba na membro daw ng Chinese Triad? Ito po yung drug syndicate na international po yan. Itong si Congressman Pulong Duterte.
Totoo po yan. Dahil nung personal kami nakausap, kinubalan ko siya sa lodge namin sa Mason kasi pumasok siya at gusto siya magpa-initiate. Part of the initiation, yung hubaran ka. Nung nakita ko ang kanyang napakalaking tattoo, katulad sa tattoo ito ni Michael Yang. Then tinanong ko sa kanya bakit siya nagpatato. Sabi niya, bro, ako ay honorary member ng Samgor Triad Group.
So paano niyo po ma-describe yung relationship nitong Charlie Tan at Sammy Uy, Michael Yang kay dating Pangulong Duterte? Ano po yung pagkakaugnayan nila?
Pagkaalam ko nung nakabalik si Mayor Rodrigo Duterte noong 2001, palagi sila nag-meeting sa Hotel Elena. Itong mga triad na ito, kasama si Mayor Duterte, si Michael Yang, si Sammy Uy, si Charlie Tan. At minsan si Alan Lim, nakikita ko yan. Yung Hotel Elena is very low profile place. Pero ito ang paborito talagang hangout ng mga ito sa Davao City. Nasa lanang Davao City ito nakalocate.
So dito sa video na yan, na-mention Mr. Chairman ni Mr. Las Cañas na itong si Pulong, nakita niya yung tattoo nung nagkaroon ng initiation rites sa Mason at inadmit mismo ni si Pulong na nga siya, member siya ng Samgor Chinese Triad Group. Next. So ito po yung sa Senate investigation naman.
Tinatanong ako ng ebidensya. Ang ebidensya po ng membership ng triad ay yung tattoo mismo kasi meron siyang sacred digits. Ngayon, kung willing itong si Vice Mayor Duterte, i-picture natin, tapos papadala natin sa USDA para i-decode. Kung willing ka lang naman.
No way.
Oh, no. Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Chair, I'm sorry.
Mr.
Chair, no way.
Okay. So, makita niyo, bakit? Kung wala naman yung tattoo na yan eh. Di ba? ano naman yung ibibigay mo yung picture sa amin? We can ask the Sergeant at Arms to accompany you. Kukuha na lang sa likod. Bibigay natin yung picture sa USDA para ma-decode kung saang faction ka. Are you willing? Are you willing to do that?
No, Mr. Chair.
Oh, no, bakit naman? Kung wala kang tinatago, kung tato lang naman dyan sa ano yan, pinagawa mo kung saan, you should not be afraid na may mapafind out dyan. Vice Mayor.
I already answered the question, Mr. Chair.
So dito nakita natin back in 2017 kung paano niya talagang binabantayan yung tattoo na yan kasi hindi rin niya pwedeng mabura yan because according sa mga traditions or rules ng Chinese triad, pag dinis-own mo sila by doing that, hahantingin ka nila. So yan po. Next, please. Okay, punta naman tayo kay Mr. Michael Yang. So, dito po, no, taken from the Quadcom, yung testimony ni Mr. Jimmy Guban. So, Manscarpio, Pulong Duterte, Michael Yang. So, doon po sa 6.4 billion peso, Shabu, Paulo Duterte, Manscarpio, Charlie Tan, among others. So, next. Ito po yung report ni Colonel Acerto na nakita na natin. Next. So, dito po, ginawa niya ng diagram, link diagram. Itong si Michael Yang, kung paano siya na-involved dito sa drug cartel. At itong report na ito ay sinubmit sa iba't ibang officials ng Duterte administration hoping itong si Colonel Acerto na na kumbaga matimbrihan si Duterte na baka hindi niya alam na drug lord itong close supporter niya, no? Nagbigay siya nito kina Secretary Guevara, Medialdea, kina Pedea Aquino, Bato de la Rosa. So lahat binigyan. Ngayon, ano ang reaksyon ni Duterte nung nalaman niya na may ganitong report? Next. So, ito nung 2018, meron siyang in-extend pa ni Duterte yung kontrata ni Michael Yang as economic advisor. Next. So ito yung kanyang slide, backlist. Iyan yung kanyang official calling card, Presidential Economic Advisor. So itong report na ito, pinasa ito sa PIDEA head dati na si Director Aquino, pero nung nakaupo na itong si Director Wilkins Villanueva, wala ulit, tinanggal ulit ang pangalan. Kasi dapat may report na hindi pwedeng parang malinis siya na citizen. Pero ginagawa ni Wilkins Villanueva yung kanyang role, which is to protect yung drug syndicate. Next. So ito naman si Nicanor Faildon na customs official, ninong niya itong ninong nung anak niya si Michael Yang tsaka si Duterte. Parang it's a scene from The Godfather, literally. Kaya ganun, labas-pasok yung kanyang operations. And from what I heard, kasi yung mga nagbabantay kay Faildon, mga dating tropa namin, si Faildon din ay isa sa mga taga-corner ng lupa kay kila Alice Gowo at dun sa Pampanga. Next. So ito si Michael Yang, no? talagang ano siya, he has unrestricted access kay Duterte. Next. Yun naman si Alan Lim, no? Pag titignan niyo yung picture na yan, ay talagang similar dun sa sinasabi nilang nagkaroon ng kaso sa Cavite. Pero pag tatanungin si Wilkins Villanueva, talagang hindi yan, no? So anyway, next. So ito na ngayon.
Excuse me, Senator Trillanes. Sorry, but please refrain from taunting or issuing statements that may insult our resource persons. Ano lang, it's just a reminder. Thank you.
I submit, Mr. Chairman. Next slide. So ito, Duterte PNP ignored intel on Michael Yang's drug links. So yun nga ang tanong, binigyan kayo ng report, ano ang ginawa nyo? 'Di ba? Prinoteksyonan si tapos siya ang kinasuhan kaliwat kanan at ito na, next slide. Ito po yung reaction ni Duterte.
Tapos mayroon pa ngayon na ito daw si isang Michael Yang na drug addict daw. Michael Yang, ang ambasador ng China dyan natutulog sa bahay niya. At saka kasama yan doon sa entourage ni Premier China. May minsan yung ng laro ng pulis. Mabubuko tayo sa China dyan. He is known there sa, I do not know. That guy is, he went there almost 16 years ago. So, alam mo yan, sir, nag-DCLA yan. Lahat ng nagpapautang ng mga Chinese yan ang negosyo niya, magtayo ka ng kalaking ang bloke yan sa Noon pa, hindi ngayon. Isang bloke sa Davao, binili niya lahat. Kanya na yung lahat, puro department store. Pumunta yan siya sa Davao, sir. Nag-command conference kami, si Sid pa noon, La Peña. Tumapit siya, di ba si command conference, sabi ko, kaya sa kanya na, sabi niya, kung gusto ba niya magpasok ako ng mga negosyante. Sabi ko, oo. Tapos dala-dala niya yung 2 bayong na cellphone para consignment lang. Talagang naghirap yan. And he became close to the kaya kapag nandyan siya, nandyan yan siya. Hindi ko talaga alam ang laro niya. He could be, sabihin mo, drug addict, pa-drug push. Ngayon lang yan, may nilabas na na Sierto will expose them. Go ahead, sabi ko. And you'd be surprised. Bukuhin ka ng Chinese government yan. Kasama-kasama palagi. Yung kasama-kasama palagi ni Ambassador Xiao. Hindi mo rin maloko yan. Military yan eh. Yung ambassador natin, military yan. China. Corruption. Bakit dyan sa droga? Di, lahat na lang. Pero ngayon lang yan lumalabas nila yung si Michael Yang. Pero ang totoo niyan, sir, yung DCLA ng Davao, kanya yan. Marami yan sila. Then the investors came. Puro tapos nag-divert sa Turil. Ngayon, nandoon na sa Makilala. Doon na, pumasok na yung the typical Chinese store. Pero sabihin mo, yung Michael Yang lalabas ni Sir. Hindi yan totoo.
Okay. Dito natin makikita kung paano mag-protect si Duterte ng mga kasama doon niya sa sindikato niya, no? Talagang vouch niya personally, ang signal niya dito sa law enforcement agencies na do not touch this guy, tao ko yan. Parang pinoproteksyon na niya, ina-arbor niya. Pero may na-mention siya doon, di ba, na sa Turil yung isang negosyo, which as mentioned by Mr. Duterte, yung Toril, yung sa Dumoy, ay yung canned fish factory na eventually yung pala ay Shabu Laboratory. It may be a slip of the tongue, but anyway, ano na yun. We got more direct testimonies. Sige, next, please.
Tapos mayroon pa ngayon
So, ito, isang article, sabi ni Duterte to police and military, why is Asierto still alive? Bakit siya gigil na gigil kay Asierto? No? Kasi nag-initiative siya, ginawa niya yung trabaho niya, gumawa siya ng dossier against Michael Yang, thinking that he was doing some good service to the country. Pero ang natisod niya ay member ng Duterte Drug Syndicate. Kaya kailangan maproteksyonan yung identity na yon at sirain yung gumawa ng intelligence report. Next slide, please. Okay, ito na yung third or fourth player, si Mr. Sami Uy. Next. Itong si Sami Uy ay na-declare na isa sa top donors ni Mr. Duterte noong 2016 elections. Next. Ayan, si Sami Uy. No? Okay, next. So, ito na. I presented it the last time. Ito yung mga na-uncover namin dun sa bank documents na nakuha ko back in 2016. So, nandito po yung distribution niya. Ito po ay checks na nakapangalan, ang account na pinanggagalingan ay si kay Sami Uy, tapos ang beneficiary dun sa mga manager's checks ay itong sina Sara Duterte, Digong Duterte, Paulo Baste at si Hanilet. So silang 5. Tapos tinignan namin yung mga dates, more or less 6 months. Every 6 months nakakatanggap sila ng yung buong pamilya ng mga 40 to 50 million pesos. So we deduce this to be a dividend of some sort, no? Next slide. So ito, yan yung mga distribution. Next slide. So yan po, nakapangalan po sa kanila yan. At sabi ko nga, since may back secrecy law tayo, may hirapan magbigay ng confirmation yung AMLAC. And by the way, I never said na itong mga dokumento nakuha ko ay galing sa AMLAC. However, mamaya lalabas dyan, ang contents nung aking nakuhang dokumento are the same as the ones na nakuha nila sa AMLAC. Next. Ito po yung admission ni Duterte.
I can explain very well legit explanation, but hindi naman ganun kalaki. And kasi uwi ako ng Davao Monday, sabi kasi ni Trillanes, nandoon siya, I requested mas mabuti daw yung abogado mag-appear sa akin so they can explain fully. Hindi naman siya but a little less than 200 million. Hindi naman ganun kalaki.
Pero magkano po lahat po?
Hindi ko alam eh. Sabi ko, gusto ko buksan ngayon. Wala mang opisina pala.
So, nung unang lumabas yun, dininay ng spokesman nyo. Then the following day, you admit. Ano po masabi nyo?
Kasi walang account na 200, a little lesser than 200 million.
Sir, how come yesterday you said thousands only, not reach million? Is it? Sir, before that, you said
Hindi ko kasi paano yung ang zero. It's either may zero ba o walang zero.
Nalito kayo, sir. Nalito sa zero.
Oo, billion na ang pinag-usapan.
So now you're confirming that those deposits are real.
Yes. Ang sinabi ko, wala akong deposito na ganong kalaki.
Hindi ko sinabi na wala akong, I mean, I've said it in a different way. Hindi naman akong deposito ng ganun kalaki. But I never said wala akong account.
Bakit hindi yun na ilagay sa salin?
As of yun eh. Wala na, ginastos ko na. Happy ako. A little less than a million.
So are you accepting Trillanes challenge, sir, nung sinabi mong bida on Monday?
Okay, ay di ako makapunta because I'm going to Davao. Si Panelo si Sal Panelo will be there because he is my legal counsel. Noon pa, I told him out. Attorney Panelo. They know.
The authorization.
Yes, to open
When, sir?
For Attorney
Monday nga,
Panelo. For Attorney
No,
Panelo.
when did you call the bank today?
today.
To open it on Monday.
To open on Monday
For
in front of Trillanes and Panelo. Huwag mo na silang pakialaman. Allow Panelo to explain first
Okay.
the legal ramifications.
So yan po, no? Umamin siya na totoo yung mga accounts. Kaya yung pag-validate nung documents per se ay basically si Duterte mismo yung nag-validate nun. At ang nangyari dun sa no nagkita kami ni Panelo dun sa BPI Julia Vargas branch, yung bank manager na nakausap namin ay ano siya, sabi niya pwede na siya magbigay ng statement of account na 6 months na transactions yung lalabas. Sabi ko, sige, that will do. Pero pinigil ni Panelo yan. He made sure na walang dokumentong lalabas on that day. And precisely, wala na tayong narinig after that. Kaya hindi niya malusutan itong issue na to every time. Sige, next slide. Please. So, ito po, ang sabi ng Ombudsman, Duterte wealth documents from AMLAC similar to what Trillanes has. Yan po. Tapos sa kabila, AMLAC's bank records on Duterte show 1 billion flow of money from the Ombudsman. So, ano yan? Naka-document po yan. Next. Tapos, Pala suspends Deputy Ombudsman Karandang for disclosure. Wala naman nung dinisclose. Sinabi lang na similar, but he got so paranoid na the investigation is gaining some headway, kaya tinanggal na kagad at naglagay siya ng bata niya. Next. So yan, next. Okay, so Malacanang talaga. Yung nag-iimbestiga sa kanya, yun ang tinanggal niya. Di ba? So dito natin makikita, pagka kakampi niya, poproteksyonan, pagka kalaban or against his interest, kagaya ni Asierto at ni Karandang, hinaharas. Next. So, doon lang po, no? Doon sa, isingit ko lang, doon sa BPI branch, na yung fund manager ni Mr. Duterte eventually ginawa niyang SSS president, no? Yung dun sa BPI branch na yon. So again, the pattern is there. Pag gumawa ka ng mga special operations, ipopromote ka. Biruin nyo from not even a branch manager dun sa BPI Julia Vargas, ginawang SSS president. So ganun siya ka-rewarded because parte siya na nagtatago ng pondo ni Duterte. Okay, next si Peter Lim. So, ito po, pakinggan natin. In your capacity as PNP chief, can you rattle off kung sino yung pinakang malalaking drug lord at drug protector dito sa Pilipinas, Luzon, Visayas, Mindanao?
Unang-una, Your Honor, ang pinakamalaki nasa loob ng Bilibid. Sumunod, hindi ko ma-quantify yung kanilang ranking, Your Honor, dahil nga ongoing pa yung may mga revelation na lumalabas habang merong nakukuha ng statement. Now, just like this morning, nag-surrender sa akin si Lovely Impal Adam, yung in-incriminate ni Kerwin, meron naman sa mga additional information na sinasabi. But sa ngayon, Your Honor, consider namin yung nasa loob ng bilibid ang malalaki. Kasama na dyan yung si Peter Lim ng Cebu, na sinasabi mo na hindi nahabol.
So, dyan po, sinabi niya mismo na one of the biggest drug lords sa Pilipinas at that time, 2016, ay si Peter Lim of Cebu. Next slide. Pero ito ngayon ang koneksyon ni Duterte kay Peter Lim. Next. Ito, nung siya ay na-mention na nga, this was the height of Tokhang. Nagpapataya na yung mga suspected drug pushers, mga addicts. Pero itong biggest drug lord ay binigyan ng audience ni Duterte. No? Binigyan niya ng audience. Pas titignan nyo, at the office of the PDEA Region 11, no? Davao City. So baka dito yan kay ano. Next. So, ito na naman. State prosecutors dismiss rap versus Peter Lim and Kerwin Espinosa. So, clear. Next. Pero, nung pagkalabas ni Peter Lim sa NBI, biglang ni-restore para mahuli ulit si Kerwin Espinosa. So, nakita nyo, unang finailan silang dalawa, pero dinismiss, kunyari, sa kanilang dalawa, pero immediately ni-restore yung kay Kerwin Espinosa pagkalabas ni Peter Lim. Sige, next. Tapos, again, prinomote yung DOJ prosecutor who cleared Peter Lim. Di ba? Dito, maliwanag na sa amin at that time that he was protecting a special group of people. Nung mga panahon na yon, ito yung mga miyembro ng kanyang Duterte drug syndicate. Next. So ito, ikukuha ko lang yung mga previous na nung pinoprofile na namin siya, inimbisiga namin siya, we came across with this. No? Next. December 11, 2009. So merong cocaine, Davao City. Next. Sige, next. So ito, ginagawang transshipment yung Davao City, yung Port of Davao, galing Malaysia, ginagawa ron Davao City, then tinatransport. This, according to our information, ito yung mga panahon na merong partnership or collaboration itong Duterte Drug Syndicate with some Mexican drug cartels kasi gusto nilang ikutan na kasi well-guarded na yung Mexican border kaya ibang ruta yung ginagawa nila. So, pagpasok dito sa Pilipinas, tinatanggal yung mga ukay-ukay, then sisiksikan ng saging para diretso sa either US or Canada. Next. To March 24, 2014. Ito, medyo interesting ito. Next. Kasi merong nakita na mga bricks ng cocaine dun sa loob ng container van. No? So, transshipment, pumasok, pinalitan yung ukay-ukay, nilagyan ng nakita ng mga trabahante yung mga cocaine bricks, kinuha nila. Next. So, kinuha nila, ang naiwan lang 24 cocaine bars. No? So, next. Tapos, next please. Ngayon, itong si Mr. Duterte, out of the blue, nag-offer siya ng reward ng 100,000 pesos for every missing cocaine brick. No? 13 specific sila. No? PDEA Region 11 ulit ito na siguro si pa rin. Ito pa rin si Director Wilkins ito. alam nila na 64 cocaine bricks yung total. Paano mo malalaman yon na yun ang total na diniliber? Kaya namomroblema si Duterte at that time kasi itong Mexican cartels pagka naburiki mo yung kanilang shipment, mananagot ka. Kaya he went to that extent. Imagine, mayor ito ng Davao City. Dapat you should let the law enforcement agencies do their thing. Pero hindi. Kailangan niyang hanapin yun at otherwise mananagot siya. So next. So, sige, next. So eventually, nakuha nila lahat. So, ano na yan? Nailabas din nila. Next. Next. Sige, next. Okay. So, ito, consistent transshipment, siya. Kaso nahuhuli siya because yung USDA, meron silang information. Next. Next. Tapos, ito yan. Nung panahon ni Duterte, nung kaupo niya, talagang they ran after the different Shabu laboratories. Binasag nila lahat yon kasi yun yung local supplier. Then, so when they were done, na basag nila lahat, kaya din pinapatay yung mga chemist sa loob ng mga kulungan para wala nang gagawa ng shabu. At nung natapos yon, ito na, pumapasok na yung bulto-bulto record-breaking importations. Next. So yan, yung 4.3 billion. Next. Yung 6.8 billion. Next. Ito pa. Nung sabi nung shabu, nung PDEA, na may shabu yung magnetic lifters, itong si Duterte, ay sabi niya, pure speculation lang yon. Bakit? Kasi kay Michael yung na shipment ito. Itong mga magnetic lifters. So, next. Ayan. So, kahit yung mga K9, sinabi na drugs yun, sabi ni Duterte, hindi yan drugs. Sige, next. So, 11 billion. Next. 1.8 billion. 5.1 billion sa Bulacan. So, ito lahat ng mga record-breaking shipments ni isang pangalan from DPDEA. Kung sino ang nasa likod nito, hindi nila masabi. Tuloy-tuloy ito. Tapos, itong mga nahuhuli, kunyari, eventually, nare-recycle, kaya umabot, nagkaroon ng yung 990 kilos na shabu na inimbestigahan din ng Quadcom. So, that's all, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, salamat, Senator Trillanes. Now, we have a list of the members who wish to interpolate. In fact, yung iba, umalis na nga yata. But those that have stayed and patiently waited for this opportunity, I'd like to call them. First to interpolate.
Mr. Chair, if I may, because the Dangerous Drugs Board is here, they wanted to present 2 minutes or 3 minutes presentation with regards to dun sa...
Is this in relation?
Yeah, in relation.
Sa
Kasi
presentation.
former Senator Trillanes were mentioning that the war on drugs, fake, no? And in here, meron po yung PSRSD, the Policy Studies, Research and Statistics Division of the Dangerous Drugs Board, which conducted a survey 2012, 2004, 2008, 2012, and 2015 nationwide about drug users.
Sige,
Makita po natin, actually we discussed this in the Committee on Public Order last week, and we have decided to elevate this to here in Quadcom because we believe that kailangan po natin makita ang mga drug users sa buong Pilipinas based on the National Household Survey that they conducted since 2004. So maybe let's give them a time to present it, Mr. Chairman.
Sige po.
Sige.
DDB, is this an annual survey that you conduct?
No, sir. We conduct it every 3 years.
Every 3 years.
Yes.
So the last would be?
The last one was in 2023. Yung recent lang po.
Okay, sige po.